So asking for special services from a comic book presser. That's a great question. It's the same thing I was asking, and then I was quickly shut down the first couple times I asked pressers for added services. So this is a market that pressers could fulfill these needs by charging more. So I've wrote about how much work goes into picking a presser and the benefits of when to press from a third-party presser and when to press at CGC Signature Series. And when I first wanted to work with a presser, I was asking questions like I just saw a guy ask, and it was like, hey, I want to send you these books. I want you to go through them, estimate the grade if pressed, and what they might be worth so I can decide if I need to grade them, press them. So it's a lot of extra work. A presser's like, no, you send me 10 books, I press 10 books, $10, $15 each, and I'm going to take 2 or 3 months for the ones that are good and busy. So when you're asking for extra services, that's what I wanted. I wanted a partner. I didn't want just someone to buy and sell service, just a transaction. So I developed a relationship with my presser. For one, I paid him cash, not PayPal goods and services. So that's going to be something you can offer to get them to work with you. Some of them just don't want to do that, and you're going to have to move on. So if you're looking for these added services, I thought I'd share with you some of the added services I wanted, and then some of the added services that later I got that I didn't know I might need. So the idea of sending your books off to a grader or a presser, these guys are technically skilled with paper memory, the pressing process, the cleaning process. They may not be great at grading, which is totally different than pressing. They may not be great at pricing. So if you're asking them to get into grade it raw after I press it and tell me what it might be worth graded at that condition, you're really asking your pressers to go above and beyond what a lot of sellers don't even know. A lot of dealers may not even know. If they just use like Cover Price, for example, for graded books, those are horrible prices. They take an average of CBCS and CGC, and the numbers are all over the place. They don't have that many sources that actually pay to advertise with them, so they only get a few people that actually report their data, so there's a lot of data that they don't get. Go Collect is a little better, but I prefer GPA because I've seen the differences, and there's a lot of reasons I've already explained that in the past that GPA is best. But if you're sending in for a Signature Series event as well, that adds to the complexity of how do I value this book. Other than looking at past sales on GPA, a lot of people may not be able to extrapolate and determine, hey, what is this Silver Age book with a JSA Stanley signature worth at a 6.5? Well, there's never been a 6.5 sign, so we have to extrapolate and guess. And so the presser may not have those skills. So if you're really looking for more skills than just pressing, you have to make it worthwhile to the presser. You want them to go through 10 books and help you decide which ones to press. Every book they say it's not worth pressing or grading, they're losing money on. So that's like a pre-screen with CGC. You're still paying $10 to CGC when they pre-screen it. You need to compensate your pressers if they're going to do these extra services for you, because these are extra services. And a lot of times it's a guess. So they may or may not be skilled in that area. Chat with them. See if they want to do this. You're going to need to pay more. If you want expedited services, you're going to have to pay more, because some of these good guys have a 2-3 month wait. At least they did years ago. Maybe now it's not so long. But the better guys might have that long of a wait. More difficult, more expensive books. I thought TMT first print with 2 signatures on it could be pressed in a week, and it took like 4 or 5 weeks, and the guy pressed it like, I believe 10 times, and each time was a full 24 hours or something like that. So he had to keep putting it in. So if it takes longer, or you want it, I'm sorry, if you want it pressed in a less amount of time, you're going to typically pay more for that. If you can sell yourself saying, hey, I'm going to do a lot through you, I'm trying to develop a long-term relationship. That's what I was looking for. And I found the guy. I found a guy that lived next to CBCS. I found a guy that walked the books into CBCS, so I didn't have to pay that extra shipping, and I didn't have to worry about things in transit hurting the book. So he pressed them all and then brought them into CBCS directly. And at the time in 2021, that was great. Since then, I hate CBCS, never use them, never want to use them. They're gone, so it doesn't matter. But if you can find someone near CGC that can walk them in, that's a savings on shipping. They might have relationships with the people at the front desk where, hey, they'll go in and open those right away, potentially. Are you going to put the orders into CGC, or is your presser going to put the orders into CGC? Ask your presser what he wants. He might get some kind of benefit by putting it himself, but he also might make mistakes. I've had a presser that made mistakes in the Signature Series. They got the wrong label, or they asked for the wrong signature, and they were too much of a hurry. And so someone could be good at pressing, but not good at administrative stuff and entering all the books in. They may insist that they do the order, so the books get sent back to them. So you have to pay for the shipping to CGC, you got to pay for the shipping back to them and back to you. So I know McDonald, they did that, and that was just a third set of expensive shipping I had to cover. So if you can do the order to CGC, send them the paperwork, and then it sends mail back to you, that saves money. This is all more work for your presser. He's got to print off the label you email him. He's got to include that. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that proved to be tricky with my presser. Maybe he didn't have PDF set up, and trying to print off a PDF was difficult, or he lost which email had the PDF, that kind of stuff. So it's just more administrative work for your asking your presser. What I liked for my presser is I might have sent him, let's say, 25 books. And it might have taken him some while to press them, and he might have entered all of those into CGC or CBCS's order form. Then all of a sudden, some Signature Series is announced. Jim Lee is coming to, and 4 of the books I want to get Jim Lee signed. So I say, hey, can you pull out those 4 books and send them to CGC on a separate Signature Series? So if he's already done the CGC order for 25 books, you can't edit those orders. If you've completed the order and paid and printed off the label, I don't think you can't edit them. So he did all that work for nothing. Now he's got to go back in and do a new order of 21 books for CGC Blue Label and 4 books for CGC Signature Series label, unless you're doing all that work. So you might want to let him know, hey, I'll do all the CGC work if you'll just pull those 4 out and send them to the Signature Series event for me. Okay. I did like sending him raw books and say, hey, but things slipped through the cracks. I remember I got a Signature Series book. I thought it was going to be a 9.8, came back 7.5. I thought I sent in an old Silver Age. Originally it was a 7.5. I thought we'd press it. It came back a 3.5 because of brittle pages. Who knew? So relying on a presser to make these big calls is above and beyond pressing, and you should have something kind of value to give him. Now, a faithful client, that's great. That doesn't pay the bills. So maybe you offer to pay cash. That saves a little bit of money. Maybe you offer to do a minimum of a certain number of books a month to then, maybe you help him develop a tier of preferred clients where you're going to do a minimum of 20 books a month or a minimum of 10 books a month, and then he can rely on that 10 times $1,550 a month revenue for the whole year, and that adds up. That's over $1,800 for the year. So asking your presser to go way above and beyond, a lot of them won't want to do it. There's other things that can happen. For example, I send them all these books. We already talked about the Signature Series. Maybe I want to split it out. Maybe for some reason I want to do PSA, and then now I got to have them split the books out. If it's a Signature Series event, he's got to bag it. He's going to charge you for that. CGC doesn't charge. So if you go straight to CGC, they're not charging me for a bag. What's the other thing they charge for? There's two things they charge for. The bag, I just spaced it. But usually when your presser does the bag, he has to put that blue tape all around the window bag. And in some cases, some people might want suggestions for the artist, like, hey, can you use pink ink or green ink or whatever? And so he's got to write it on there. So you got to pay for the bags, which are $5, and you got to pay for him to do the window bag. So it ends up being like, I think, $10 a book to help for your presser to prepare it for a signature series event. So all these extra services, it would be great if you can work out a relationship with your presser where you pay more and he does more for you and you're both on the same page. That is the relationship I developed with my presser. And the guy that asked this question said my presser was off by like 2 grades. That's the way it is. A presser is not an expert in grading. They haven't worked for CGC. They may not even know the details. They just know how to press and clean and make it better in many cases. So asking them to guess what the grade is now, and or worse, guess what it'll be after it's pressed. Man, we've seen so many books that I've sent books in that should have been a 9.8 that were a 9.8. I cracked them out and they came back a 9.2. Sent them back in and they came back a 9.6. So just because you get a 9.2 doesn't mean it wasn't worth a 9.8. And just because you get a 9.8 doesn't mean it wasn't worth a 9.2. So if you're asking your grader to be more exact, your presser to be more exact than that, that's asking a lot of your presser. Some of it is very small minutia. Somebody could be having a bad day. Usually when I get a bunch of books that were graded wrong, they were all in one order. So I got one grader and he was either new or having a bad day or some other mistake, and I'd send them all back in and say, hey, can you double check this? And then they fix them. And I did a video on that. If you get back grades books that are much lower than you expected, you can send them back in and say, hey, can you relook at these, look at the video, see if there was a mistake, see if they were dropped, that kind of thing. And then they've regraded them. And if they do get a new grade, they send them back to me, and it's all on the house. A lot of people don't know that, so that's a secret insight. So I love the idea of developing a strategic relationship with a third-party presser. I love the idea of you guys paying more for that kind of relationship where your books go to the front of the line. You get added services. He gets to go through these. Maybe a presser could differentiate himself from the other pressers by offering all these services for free. Free, meaning he'll do it for you without an added fee, but maybe he's charging $20 a press where someone else might be doing $15, but they're 3 months behind. So $15, $20, $25 a press, does it really matter? If you want the books pressed a lot quicker, and depending on how much work he's doing versus you. So anyways, I'm a big fan of developing those relationships with third-party pressers. That will save you a lot of time and energy in the future. I've also had a third-party presser rush to pack everything up to send it to a third-party signature event, not CGC, but we had to send it to McDonald for a bunch of magazine-sized TMNT first prints because Eastman was signing, and I wanted him to sign it, not just send it to CGC and get blue labels. So he was able to rush it out the door, get it to McDonald by the deadline, and then they did their whole process. So he isn't just sending to CGC. He might be sending it to a signature series event somewhere. He might be sending it to a different location than CGC, and he might have to send some back to you. If he goes through and says, hey, you missed the back of this, I'm going to mail it back to you. That's a lot of movement, and if you can get that kind of service from your presser, that would be magic for you. Anyways, happy hunting, guys.